I'm Marianne Torres, and welcome to In All Things. In this episode, I'll be speaking to another Catholic youth about community, more specifically faith community, and how it's so important in our walk with Christ. I've invited Sarah Lichtenberger from Corpus Christi, Texas, to come speak with us today and share her story of finding community. Today, Sarah is studying business at Del Mar College. She's a catechist at Holy Family Parish in Corpus Christi, and she's part of a wonderful youth community over there as well. And so without further ado, let's go. Sarah, hello, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. I'm so excited to speak today with you about community. It's something that I'm so passionate about, and I'm excited to speak to you about it because I know you have quite a lot to share. So just to dive right in, you found community for the first time at 20 years old. But can you explain how it was that you were without community in the first place?
Yeah, so growing up, I would always go to church with my grandma, but other than that, it was mainly just me and her going. So I didn't really have a lot of friends, or my family wasn't super into the faith. And then once she kind of passed away when I was in 6th grade, I kind of just stopped going altogether. My parents weren't really oh, it's Sunday, we have to go to church type of people. So it wasn't something that we did a lot. Unless my mom randomly decided she wanted to go, which is probably 2 or 3 times a year. And then so getting older, just graduated from high school, I had kind of just started living in the world I just had a group of friends, and I kind of really just talked with them, and they're not really that religious or anything. So whenever I was starting to kind of experiment with different things and kind of just live my life, I started to feel I just started to feel alone. Even though I had a few people around me, I didn't really feel like there was people with me, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually going to ask you, that time of loneliness, without a faith community, a youth group, how did that feel, and what was that like?
It felt really weird for me because there's stuff that I knew, I knew I wasn't alone, but I didn't feel like I wasn't alone. And so it felt I just felt lost because I didn't know what to do. I was dealing with, I have PCOS. And so I was dealing with the toll on my mental health that it was taking. And I just felt I was alone. I knew Jesus was there and I knew he loved me, but I didn't feel like he was there. And I kind of just felt like it was by myself, and it felt really ugly, and it wasn't something that I liked at all.
That's gotta have been really tough as a youth. I can't imagine what that must have been like. I know for my family, I definitely come from the experience of having parents that are in the faith and practicing, and I remember so many Sundays when my mom would wake me up out of bed and be like, get up, we're going to church. You have no choice. And in the moment I actually was a little upset at my mom, but looking back, it's things like that I really needed to consistently pull me back. So I guess not having that in your case, wow, that must have been really tough in your life with all that. How was it that you ended up finding community after everything?
So I had stayed involved with the church, and so after I had made my confirmation, they kind of asked us oh, does anybody want to help out in any ways within the church? Does anybody want to be a lecturer or a catechist? And I love kids, so I was oh, I'll be a catechist, and maybe I'll be able to do communion class or something. But then my teacher reached out to me and told me she needed an assistant for the high school level kids, and I was oh, okay. So I did that with her 1 year, and then the following year, she was kind of hey, I can't do this anymore because I have other commitments, so the class is yours. And I was oh, okay. I was like, I'll take the class by myself. That's fine. And then the following year, I decided that I wanted to help out with the youth group. And so, when I decided to join the youth group and to help the core team with them, I was kind of just thinking I was going to go in there and just have like go in, help on Sundays, kind of help these teens find something in Christ. And then it turned out that I found out so much within the core team, and I found my little community of people. And so it was something that like made me really happy because it's not something that I would usually do. I'm kind of like a shy person, so I don't like put myself out there. So joining the core team with a bunch of people I didn't know wasn't something I typically do. But I decided to, and I found like this whole community of like people who were just so loving and took me in and helped me in my faith. Because like without having this church background, even though I was a teacher, I wouldn't say I knew a lot. Like I was like far from perfect, and I did not know like everything there was. And so to really like have these people who were helping me learn and grow just felt so amazing.
Wow, wow. And how did you see your faith transform from, the time before when you felt alone in your faith to when you had community? How did your faith grow and transform as a result?
I definitely got to learn a lot more, and I felt like before I had always seen my faith like I kind of just knew things. Like there was stuff that I remembered that I had learned in class or something. But after this, it was stuff that I actually felt. Like I felt Jesus's presence with me, and I felt these things that I had learned about, like sometimes in these classes. And it wasn't just it was more like a hands-on, I guess, type of way you could say. I
Yeah.
really felt it. It wasn't me just like learning about it. And so like I felt that I was able now to help other people. So when I would try to explain stuff in the classroom, especially, it was like I was just telling the kids stuff, and then now it's like no, like I can like show y'all what it is, and I can really like tell y'all this feeling, and kind of it just felt so much better.
That's right, because you're a catechist. You've been a catechist for a while at your church, and so being in a community has even amplified, the way that you serve God within the church too. You're saying?
Yes, definitely. I think I get like a lot more feedback. I think it was something that I also noticed. Because before how I said like I would kind of just like teach stuff. So like my first 2 years of doing the catechesis, I would kind of just play the videos that we were told to play. And then after the videos, I'd ask the questions, I'd have them answer. And it was kind of just like very cut like book and video type of thing. And then now my past 2 years that I've been there with finding the community, after finding community, it's very much like I get to like I try planning things out, and we get to like do activities, and it's more like discussions and not just like question answer. And so
Oh.
I like the kids have told me this past year that they liked the class, so it makes me feel better that knowing that they're able to also get something out of it.
And kids can always tell. I've learned this about kids. They like, I don't know, they pick things up so fast that yeah. So I'm glad that your calling, the way you serve God has also been deepened too in that sense. If you could, I guess, list, like really just like go down and list all the ways that your faith has deepened, all the new things that you're doing now, as a result of having a community around you or that support system, what would they be?
Yeah, so I definitely read the Bible more. I would say that before I found community, I've maybe picked it up a couple times inside class when we had to. But now, like, one of my favorite things to do, like, when I don't have to work, is on, like, especially a Saturday morning, it just feels so much better. Just, like, have a cup of coffee and then really go into the Bible and be able to read a section and kind of, I like to highlight inside there and just reflect on pieces that really, like, caught my attention. It's like probably one of my favorite things to do.
Yes.
So that's something that I really enjoy doing, and kind of just doing more meditation and kind of really just being able to just focus in on one thing, and has been really great.
Do you have a Bible that has like all these different colors and everywhere?
Oh
Just
yeah.
yeah.
And you see my Bible, I have like tabs inside there from like some of my favorite verses, and
Yes.
inside is like colorful from like my highlighting marks. It's very
Yeah.
much, yeah.
I went through a phase where I was like, I am not gonna touch my Bible. I'm like, this is sacred text. I'm not gonna highlight anything. And I couldn't do it anymore. And I was like, you know what? I have to. There's no way I can't be highlighting this. And now my Bible is just like pink and yellow and purple. Although I stopped using purple because it was a little bit too dark, but like purple and all these things. um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
made like my prayer binder with it. So like that's like where I'll go in to kind of write my reflections, just so I can always like have them there whenever I'm like thinking, like if I see that I highlighted something, I'll read it and I'll be like, oh wow, this is really good, and then I'll go back to see what I wrote since it's like been within 2 years and to see what I was thinking at the time. And so
Oh,
yeah, I
oh, I
like
need to
doing
start
that.
doing that. I didn't do that at all. Wow. I have to start doing that. And speaking of group, can you I guess illustrate or can you tell me what your group looks like today, who they are, how many people, what you guys do?
Yeah, so our Connect Core Team group, I think there's about 8 of us that we had this past school year. We're all like young adult, or it's like a different range of adults. Some of us are still in college, some have already graduated college and on to like their actual careers. And we came together to help with the youth group at our church, the Connect Youth group. And so typically what we do is like we'll get together once a week during the school year to plan out like sessions for the teens and then to plan out like different events we have for them or different fundraising things. Well, like our main goal is to help the teens build a better relationship with Christ. And so we try to do that with doing presentations to kind of dig a little bit deeper on some topics, but they're also teens, so we definitely like to keep them active. So we'll play games in between different things. Um, we do that. We do mission trips for them to kind of help them. Definitely like to do like hands-on volunteer work, which is something that we've seen that the teens really love to do, like to go to the homeless shelter and help serve breakfast as like one of their favorite things because they have to wake up at like 5:30 in the morning on Saturday afternoons and they still do
Oh,
it. Yeah, surprisingly, we get a big group of people who will go out there. So it's
wow.
definitely something that they've like loved to do. We plan the mission trips. We have started to do now, what are they called? Retreats for them to kind of help them do that one-on-one deepening of their faith. And we're also just there for them to talk to. Lots of times we like to just like make ourselves available and let them know like, any issues that they're having, like we're there to help them and try to help guide them and just to be that listening ear for them. But we also like to incorporate the aspect of community with one another. So sometimes we'll take a break from all the planning and we'll do like a meditation, or we'll just start the meeting off with like asking how everybody's week is going, see like what is there anything new happening, anything that we can help each other with, and just kind of just check in on one another. And so it's really a good community. We kind of talk almost daily now since everything that's happening. We have like our group chat where everybody, if anything's happening inside like our personal lives or with our families, or if we just need like a quick little prayer request, we'll kind of just type it in there, and then like everybody's there to help out and to send their prayers.
That is so big, and I would say one of the best parts too about having a community, the prayer aspect. Just being like, hey guys, like I have something, like please pray for me, and like knowing that there's like maybe like 5 of them that are like probably praying for you right there, like that's yeah, that's one of the best parts too. Do you have any shout outs that you want to give while you're here, while you're on camera, to any one of them who might be watching?
I guess I'll shout out the whole core team, Bob and Bea and Jessica, Christina and Danielle, and some of our old members now like Michael and Dulce. And then also our teens, all of our teens. I love y'all so much.
Perfect. Hey everybody. Oh, that's perfect. I don't know them, but I give them also a great greeting from myself too. So, looking back on everything that you've experienced since finding community, how important would you say that community is in the life of a Catholic youth?
I think it is so important, and that's something that I try to tell my teens also, because sometimes, especially whenever you're younger, you definitely start to kind of feel alone. You know, you're going through different things, and it's so much harder to do things when you're alone. So having this community of not just people who love you, but they want the best for you, and that they have this right like path going on in their head with putting Jesus forward and everything. It's just so much. It's gonna make, I feel, life so much easier for you. Um, it might not be easier, it'll feel easier as like what I
Yeah.
was trying to say, because things are going to be hard, but whenever you have that group of people to really lean on and to help you, and to help you take on those struggles that you're going through, it's just going to make life feel so much better than trying to do it alone.
Hmm. Absolutely. And if there's a youth who is watching this and is saying, "Wow, like community sounds really great, and I don't have one. I should find one." What would you say to them? What would you suggest to them to do that?
I would definitely say don't be scared to join anything. I know sometimes, like me personally, like, I'm getting like I'm so shy. I really don't like put myself out there, but finding a community is going to be really good for you. So definitely just make that first step to just reach out to like one person. That's what I did. I just had to email one person. I think it was hard for me to get in contact with them because they hadn't responded to me, but I was persistent. I think I messaged them like 2 or 3 times until they like finally responded. But to just make that first move to get one foot in the door, and then somebody will help you out. Somebody will definitely help you out after that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if there's a youth who, on the flip side, is like, oh, community, I don't need that, or I don't know, like maybe out of pride, or maybe out of, like you said, or just not wanting to put themselves out there. What would you say to that youth?
I would say definitely, even if you don't feel like you need it, like I definitely, before, like I guess I started feeling bad, I definitely didn't feel like I needed it. And I think if I would have gone and found that community before I needed it, I probably would have never felt that. I wouldn't have hit that low. So if they were already there, everything kind of would have just been more of a smooth transition. So definitely try, and even if you don't do it because you want it, maybe that you're somebody that somebody needs inside a different community. So I would say definitely make that first move still.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it. That's a really good way to look at it. Um, what would you say is the biggest difference between? Because I mean, you can have groups of friends, just for buddies, and I don't know that you play soccer with. I don't know, buddies. What's the biggest difference you would say between buddies that you have and faith community?
I would say like the difference with your buddies, like with my friends, like I love my friends to death. My friends that are like my close group of friends, they're my friends from high school. Like, and they love me, and that's what it is, that they love me. But whenever it comes to like your faith friends, they love you and they want the best for you in your relationship with Christ. And so they don't want to just help you, they want to help you build a stronger relationship in the faith. Or from what I found, is that they really want you and your soul to be good. So they really give in that extra help and give you kind of like that extra advice with Jesus in the midst of all of it. And so that's what I've seen from my differences.
They give you the extra advice, the extra push,
Yes,
towards
definitely.
God. That's so special. That's and so needed. And I would say too, the sweet spot is when you can find a friend who you share a lot in common with, like a regular friend who's also a youth group friend. I would say that that's an especially special sweet spot for a friend too.
Definitely.
Yeah. Like, do you have any reflections that you would like to just like add, and something that you'd like to say about community or your community that is really close in your heart or that you're feeling?
Yeah, I can add something in. Yeah, so and for me, I guess you also need to be really open to being in a community, because when I first joined the core team, it took me like a few months before like I really opened up. And I guess the great thing about them was that they saw that I was shy. Like, they knew I was shy and that it was like me having like a hard time opening up, but they like kept trying. And I guess also if you're on the other end and you notice that somebody is like kind of shy, isn't really opening up, to go ahead and kind of keep pushing and like just keep trying, because it took me a while to be able to open up to them. And now like I tell them literally anything and everything I struggle with. Um, when I had first found out like about my not when I first found out, when I was going to the doctor more for my PCOS, I was kind of like, I got into like a really bad funk because it was like during the COVID stuff was happening. It was like back in May. And so, like, I was struggling at work. I was struggling with the PCOS, and then like thinking kind of like into the future. Like, it was all bunch like of a struggle. And so like I was there again at night, like just laying down in bed by myself, and I was like, "Ugh, like let me reach out to one of them." So I reached out to one of them, and like I wrote them again like a whole long paragraph, like telling them all of my problems, and me not thinking that they would see it till the morning, and they answered me again like right away. And they were like, I think another thing that was so comforting was she didn't know what I was going through because she hadn't like dealt with it before, and she knew it was hard, so she wasn't like just like saying like, oh, like it's okay, but like she really made herself one with me, and that like made me feel like so good too, because she just made herself one. And so it just felt like it felt like a lot to know that somebody was trying to just be there, like not trying to really like put too much input in or trying to say too much, but to just like let you know that they are there. It felt really good.
And I like how your advice too was also directed towards those already in community. Who like your final thought about reaching out to those who are like more shy and stuff. That's also important for those who are in community too, to remember to keep like going out and finding those who need community and who maybe even are trying to reach out. I know you mentioned you mentioned a couple times you tried to reach out, but maybe who are trying to reach out and find that community. So that's good too. So when it comes to youth who are in the world and they're trying to live their faith by themselves, how easy is it for them to just get like absorbed into the ways of the world and for their faith to kind of waver?
I think it's like so it's like so easy. And I guess like if you don't like thankfully like you have that good faith background with your parents and your family, but like there's some people who don't have that. And so it's like some of the stuff that I have seen that like I used to do in the past, like in my head, like it wasn't bad. Like, I wasn't doing anything wrong or doing anything that I saw was going to affect me in the long run or like affect my soul or anything like that. Um, so it's so easy to just like kind of like, oh, like be with your friends and like just like do whatever y'all want, because you don't really see like the wrong end from it, and like where everything's like gonna go bad. And so it's really hard, but once you find that community, they are really able to help you like anchor in and really get to know and see the difference. And I think for me, I really have seen the difference, and it's so crazy, especially like I'll tell that to like my teens and stuff. Like you really see like the difference from how you used to live and how you live now. And even whenever you kind of start wanting to fall back into those bad habits, it's like, oh wait, like no, like you really see that it's wrong now, and like you see the difference. And it's such a good, like I couldn't like explain how like it feels, because it's definitely a whole other type of experience.
And you hinted at it too in what you just said, but for sure, having a community keeps you accountable, in your walk with God and in the things that you do, and they're so influential. Your friends of faith, for sure. This is a personal question, and hopefully it's not too personal, but how do you find that your friends outside of the faith or even your family, react to this group that you have really found your stride in, to this Connect Youth group? How would you find that they are reacting to it?
I think especially with my family, it's been such a positive thing for us, because I have an older sister, a younger brother, and two younger sisters. So right away, I had my two younger sisters. They went through the catechesis classes, and then they attended the youth group. So they got to experience, especially because for our youth group, we try to make it another community. So like we have our small little one with the core team, but then we also dive into like this bigger group with different teens that we can also help. So my little sisters have been able to experience it, and they like found like a bunch of friends inside of it also. So they've like created their own little community. And even my older sister, who she wasn't like, she was just like me growing up, like, you know, we weren't like super like faith based or anything. But now, like, she even during this past Lent season, she read like the whole Bible. And I was like so proud of her because she loves to read,
Wow.
but like this was like something different for her. And so they've definitely all have gotten to be able to be part of this with me. So it's been a really good thing for everyone.
So this community that you found has blessed you, your family, your the way you serve as a catechist in the church. Wow, this is so many things. It's
Yes, it's
incredible. It's really incredible. And so, Sarah, thank you so much for joining me here today. I am so happy to hear about your community experience, that you found community in the first place. Praise God. I'm just so happy. Thank you for everything you shared today.
Thank you so much for having me with you.
Thanks, and God bless, Sarah.
God bless y'all too.
Alright everybody, that is all for today. If you would like to rewatch this episode or check out other And All Things episodes, you can do that at saltandlighttv.org. And while you're online, why not find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And until next time when I speak to the next Catholic youth.